My girlfriend is furious because I adopted my little sister. Last month, on their way back from my uncle's home outside of town, my parents spotted a moose on a lonely road in the forest. My father, who was driving, swerved at high speed and collided with a tree. They both perished at the scene. They were found the following day by a passerby, since it was not a frequently utilized route. My sister has been living with my grandma, who I dislike. When I was a youngster, she would strike me, most of the time rightfully, but often sometimes unjustifiably. She said that she did not want to adopt my sister, so the next best alternative was me. I consented without hesitation since we are extremely close, and in the end, she is my family, and I love her to the moon and back. My sister moved in with my girlfriend 2 weeks ago. Clearly, she is still traumatized by what happened to our parents. We were both extremely close to them, and they were wonderful people. She still doesn't speak much, primarily to me and sometimes to my GF. We take her to therapy twice a week, and she has made significant progress in such a short period of time. Yesterday, after staying in my sister's bed until she fell asleep, I went to mine and my GF room, and she indicated that we needed to discuss about this scenario. She said that since my sister came in, we haven't had much time for one another. It's a valid argument. We've only had once, while my sister was gone, and even then I wasn't very interested. She advised me to reconsider the adoption and maybe give her to my uncle and aunt. My uncle isn't permitted to work due to a heart ailment, and since he didn't work long before being diagnosed, his disability fund isn't very large, and my aunt works at a senior home, which clearly doesn't pay much. They also pay for my cousin's university bills while caring for my younger cousin, who is just 5 years old. My GF is in her last year of university, so we don't have much money either. Thankfully, I got a job after university in my profession that pays well, but it's been difficult financially. However, I will soon begin getting government subsidies for adopting my sister. My GF said that she isn't ready to become a mother and that having all of the obligations of a parent is difficult, which I can understand, and that it has placed a significant pressure on our relationship, which is also true. We used to go home from work and university and be done for the day, but now we have to pick up my sister from school, drive her to the therapist, and also take care of her a lot while she's home since she doesn't like being alone. I told her that while she makes valid points, when it comes to my sister, I can't just throw her away because it's not easy, it won't be easy, and I have to ride it out, but she doesn't. It probably wasn't the right thing to say because it set her off, and she said who I would pick if I had to choose between my sister and her. I didn't respond, and we got into a verbal spat, after which I fell asleep on the sofa, exhausted by all that had happened recently. I'd like to add that my girlfriend and I have been together for 9 years. She knew my parents and they liked her. She also knew my sister from infancy, and I simply don't see how she could make me choose between them. I love both of them and don't want to lose any of them. I believe I need assistance on what to do or say to my GFs since I am at a loss. Edit. I also want to clarify that, contrary to popular belief, I did not take my sister without first consulting with my GF. We discussed it extensively, and she said that we must get her to return home to us, no matter what, which is why I was astonished by what she had to say. Edit #2. I'm driving my sister to therapy in a few minutes. When I come home, my GF and I will speak about it all. Edit #3. So we ended up talking about it for a bit, and this is what happened. My GF first apologized excessively for the previous night, saying she behaved like a spoiled brat and that it was not acceptable. I told her that I still loved her the same even though what she said was hurtful, and that I understand it's a big leap for her, and that she doesn't need to be a mother, just a friend or big sister to my sister, and that I don't want to push any responsibilities on her, and that if she'd like, we could both take a break from each other to process this. She refused and said she processed it, and admitted that what she said was she said that she regretted what she said almost immediately, but she believed that the harm had been done, and that I would break up with her, and she was afraid to approach me as a result. Next, she informed me that she didn't intend to force me to choose between them, and that if someone asked her that question if she were in that circumstance, she would drop them, and that she was grateful for me deferring that choice until we spoke about it. She said it stemmed from her feelings of estrangement from me, as well as jealously that I was spending so much time with my sister yet had to spend less time with her as a consequence. She knows why I need to take care of my sister while she's in pain, and she stated she wants to assist me with that as much as she can, as well as help me get through this. She admitted that I'd been her everything for the past 13 years, and that for those 2 weeks she thought she was losing me, which terrified her, but after talking about it with some of her close friends, she realized she wasn't losing me, just that a very important thing had popped up in my life that needed to be taken care of, and it was going to take a lot of my attention, which was previously focused mostly on her. She stated that she wants me to know that I can rely on her in terms of responsibility for my sister and that she will do her best to be good to my sister, and I can see that, in comparison to yesterday or the day before, my GF really tried with my sister today, initiating conversations with her and assisting her with homework and clothes shopping before going to the therapist today. It felt as if I had seen my GF grow from a kid to an adult in the span of a single day. I also recognized some of my flaws, such as ignoring her over the previous several weeks, even though I see it may have an influence on a person, and not giving her a voice in whether my sister would come here to stay. We agreed on a few things, including the fact that we should go to therapy sooner rather than later. She suggested leaving my sister with my aunt and uncle for a few hours over the weekend, while we go and sort that out, and that we need to be able to balance our time more efficiently so that we can have at least a little more time to reconnect with each other. Then she apologized for not assisting me in grieving or making time to do so, and she said that our disagreement was a wake-up call for her not being supportive enough of me through what transpired lately, and that she would do anything she can to make up for her recent overstepping. It was at this time that the whole month slammed at me like a freight train. I sobbed a lot as she was embracing me and saying words of encouragement and comfort to me during the entire affair, helping me to release everything I'd been holding onto for the previous month. This was my GF as I knew her, a really kind person, and I sincerely hope that what she exhibited 2 days ago wasn't her true face, as some are claiming, but rather a response to insecurity, but only time will tell. I believe that was a good thing to do, and there's obviously a lot more where that came from, but it's a start in the right way. When I got home with my sister, we all played cards and I felt like we were a family, which is a nice sensation. As of the time I'm writing this, I'd put my sister to bed, and she didn't take long to go asleep tonight, drifting off after a forehead kiss and some hugging. I'm sitting on the couch in the living room right now. My girlfriend is taking a shower, and we're going to watch a movie together, and honestly, I'm grateful to everyone who gave me advice over the last few hours. I don't think I could have kept a level head as much if so many people hadn't offered different points of view and sound advice. One thing I learned through this event is that communication is essential, particularly in times of stress like this, and that before making critical choices, it's a good idea to speak to your spouse and see if they have an explanation for what they did, while also being prepared for the worst. I went into the conversation with my GF ready to break up if her perspective hadn't changed because, like it or not, my sister is a priority for the time being, and I think that 2 days ago my GF didn't understand why and couldn't accept it. But after talking to her and explaining why I have to take care of my sister in this manner, she now understands and accepts it. Update. Hello everyone, it's been a while since my last post, and I have some spare time today with nothing planned, so why not write this? A lot has transpired since my initial post, and in the end, my GF, now ex, couldn't handle the fact that I had a new priority. I confess that I wasn't the greatest at balancing the two, and I would spend much more time with my sister than with my GF, but I believe it's acceptable. In general, my GF was on and off with my sister, one day being the sweetest person to her, and the next utterly dismissing her and being borderline rude. I had a couple conversations with her about how it needed to stop, but it would only work for the remainder of the week, and then it would be back to square one. It all came to a head about 3 weeks ago when she accused me of not loving her anymore and of playing favorites. I told her they weren't my children to be picking favorites, and that my sister would definitely need a lot more care for some time since, as you know, she lost her parents. Finally, she returned to her ultimatum, sister or her. I was enraged at this point, since she had been cruel to my sister that day, and I told her she could pack her belongings and find a place to sleep for the night. I haven't seen her since, and honestly, I don't want to. We texted for a while, essentially both sides confirming it was done and scheduling a time for her to pick up the remainder of her belongings. My sister, on the other hand, is much better. She is no longer confined to her room all day, and she is gradually reverting to her former chatty self. She still dislikes being alone, but this was true before the accident. So since my GF moved out, we've been sharing a bed for comfort. She still wakes up in the middle of the night wailing, so it's better when I'm there, and honestly, it's a lot more comfortable. One thing I really regret is that my sister overheard the whole argument and began apologizing to me for breaking me and my GF up. I assured her that it was not her fault at all and that if anything, she helped me realize who my GF really was. She still sees her therapist, and it's actually helped a lot. She doesn't require me to be there when she falls asleep, and she doesn't worry when I leave for 15 minutes to go shopping. Overall, the last 3 months have been the most difficult of my life, but they have also been eye-opening in terms of my ex's contempt for my family and for me. Sorry for the lack of a happy ending. I suppose this is how real life works.